So I'm of the opinion that we should just ban OnlyFans, right? At this point, I've just decided that actually OnlyFans is an attack on the public morality, and it is allowing the impression of Britain and British women to be severely damaged, actually. It is definitely not good for social cohesion. It's not good for the concept of our own sense of dignity. And
OnlyFans as a company itself has every incentive to promote the idea that as many women as possible are on it, to try and normalize it so that your daughters think that it's normal. So when they hit 18, they think to themselves, hey, I know how to make some easy money.
Yeah,
that's the whole business model. Yeah,
it's really, really horrible, actually. And there's no reason we actually have to permit this either. We don't have to allow this. This has all been inspired, of course, by Louise Perry's article about OnlyFans, why OnlyFans has young British women in its grip. Now, she says in here, quote, Britain is host to 280,000 creator accounts on OnlyFans.
Wow, that's loads.
I
think it was that much. Wow.
We'll come to the numbers because they're a bit sus, actually.
Okay, all right.
They're quite contentious and sourced very well.
Yeah. 84% of these accounts are run by women, and they are all between 18 and 34, mostly. We can estimate that about 4% of young British women are therefore selling their wares on OnlyFans. That is a lot.
I've never actually clicked on OnlyFans in my life.
No, neither have I.
Is it all sex stuff? Because I was under the impression that you can go on OnlyFans and just shill anything, like your business. It didn't start.
Bo's looking for new revenue streams.
Watch your space.
How much skin do I need to show? Asks Bo.
I understand that technically it's not required to be a prostitute.
Well, here's some information, which is that people keep calling it a UK or British-owned business, and I believe that when it was started originally, it was started by like an Essex lad and his dad or his brothers or
homegrown
something.
British success story. Yeah, prostituting women.
In 2018, it was sold to a foreign company. It's not a British-owned business anymore because I've seen people throw that at...
It was just a good British idea.
Well, no, it was taken over by a company called like Felix International or something, who are run by a guy, wholly owned by a guy called Leonid Radvinsky, who is a... Ukrainian American. And it was after he took over that it started to push itself as a site for people to make their own adult content.
Right, interesting. So anyway, this article focuses around one creator.
Too late, Sigilstone, sorry.
Yeah, one creator called Bonnie Blue. You're probably aware of Bonnie Blue. Apparently, she told an interviewer last year, quote, I used to work an office job, 9 to 5, sit in rush hour, get given 20 days annual leave. And for a while, I accepted that. I was like, okay, this is what life is. This is as good as it can get. I was like, okay, but that's not bad for, like, she's in her early 20s, right? That's not bad. And you move up as, you build yourself, you improve, you gain, and instead she decides, I don't have to do this. So she moved with her. She moved with her husband originally. I'll get to the more details. Moved to Australia, left her husband, and pursued a new business idea: having sex with hundreds, in her words, of barely legal teenage boys, and uploading the footage to OnlyFans to sell.
Classy.
I mean, yeah, but also there's a reason that every single religion under the sun has put sort of hardline proscriptions on women's personal behavior, right? And this is the meme is real, and it's because one or two women will make it so that you kind of have to, right? This can't be allowed. This just can't be allowed. She says, quote, I wanted a better life. Is that a better life? Is that a better life? Is it? That's disgusting. She's now world famous for the escalating depravity of her stunts. She was planning to host what she called a petting zoo event this weekend, in which as many as 2,000 men would be given sexual access to her over 24 hours all on camera. She was going to be in some sort of cage, blindfolded and gagged, and just these men would just be allowed to do anything they want to her. It's like, what are we doing, folks?
Okay.
What are we allowing here? Like, I get a lot of people being like, well, we need an Oliver Cromwell for the government. It's like, yeah, and we also need one for society, okay? Like,
I mean, sadly...
I'm turning into a Puritan.
Sadly, Nick Buckley, thanks Nick, has put some of the previous stunts on the Twitter timeline before, and also there was the whole Lily Phillips thing where they were showing footage of the queue for these events. Typically, the men showing up to these events are not classic.
It's just men.
Not classically British, shall we say? Which makes sense because if there is one thing that is very clear about Bonnie Blue, just looking at her in this image, even is that she is a right minger.
I also don't find
she's gross.
Anyway,
she has the stare.
This is an article from back in January where
Bo's just like, she's not that bad. Is Zoo still open this weekend?
It's not ugly, yeah. Where do I sign up? I'll be number man 2001. No, I'm joking. Of course, I'm joking. But
standing at the back of the queue with a bouquet of flowers. I can change her.
A box of chocolates. I can save her. No.
That's so disgusting.
Well, I did hear one of these stunts. I forget.
That's so vile.
I'm only joking. I don't want venereal disease, so that was a joke.
I forget which one it was, whether it was her or the other one, but I did hear that one of them had some guy in the queue who had chocolates and flowers, who wasn't intending to do anything, just wanted to give her. Maybe he thought he was going to save her.
Oh my god.
King of the simps.
God.
And there was after the Lily Phillips thing, when that clip went around of her crying after she realised, oh my god, I'm a disgusting pig. There was also the behind the scenes of like, here's the camera guy who was here all day and filmed the whole thing, and he looked like he'd been through Vietnam.
1,000-yard stare.
Yeah.
Like the guy in World War One, where it's just his face has aged 20 years over 2.
The guy that saw all the fighting on the Eastern Front in World War II, he's aged 20 years in 3.
Jesus.
Far be it from me to play defence for this, but
okay, stop there.
All I'm going to say is there's a few things that humans do which is almost impossible to ban.
Sure.
Prostitution is the oldest profession in the world.
Yep.
If you try and ban alcohol, people will do it anyway. If you try and ban fighting or boxing, it will just go underground.
Yep. And I'm not saying that we should try and ban those things. What
she
I'm saying
is free to be a disgusting degenerate pig.
Yes, but should she be able to become a multi-millionaire doing this?
Okay.
Well, no,
the question.
It's not even that. I don't see that same argument as it applies to online pornography websites like OnlyFans, where, as I mentioned, the entire business model is predicated on convincing young women that it's normal and fine and profitable to become whores as early in their lives as possible, right? Yeah. And so the argument is always, well, it'll pop up elsewhere. I mean, not necessarily if it's a platform online. You can stamp those things out, or you can apply laws that force them to put different gatekeeping measures in place, like what happened with some of the states in America where they forced Pornhub to put in an age verification, and all of a sudden Pornhub, because their entire business model is getting like 11-year-olds to watch porn, they pulled out immediately. They were like, all right, we'll just IP block any state that has those laws, because we don't want we don't want to live in a world where 11-year-olds can't have instant access to the free, most hardcore, disgusting, degenerate shit ever produced in human history.
So we'll carry on. So apparently Bonnie Blue says she makes between 600,000 and 1.5 million a month.
A month?
A month.
Again, that's the market. I mean, it's horrible. Right? I wish.
What does Oliver Cromwell think of the market, Bo? Does Oliver Cromwell care about the market? No.
Let's not let men off the hook here.
Well, that was my point. My point. It's like she is doing something gross. Okay.
Do you think Oliver Cromwell's going to let men off the hook? No. I'm completely happy with us punishing every man who has an OnlyFans account. Okay. It's totally fine. The whole thing, honestly, is really making me insanely right wing just reading about this. I'm going to go through some more. Seriously, I'm finding myself becoming quite unforgiving. The thing is, I do actually take your point about like prostitution, alcohol, the sort of like the normal vices. It's like I can see like why there would be a sort of marginal space for that, right? It's like if you've got some guy who's like in his 40s, he's never had the touch of a woman. Okay, I can see why you would go to a prostitute, right? If you've got a man whose like wife is disabled or something and she can't have sex, okay, I can see why you'd do that. But like,
I mean, if he's married, I think you're making.
Yeah, but if she's like disabled and she's like, no, go, because I can't or whatever. I don't know, whatever. Whatever. Make up a story, right? There's going to be some sort of fringe marginal case in which you can see why consenting adults could exchange money and that wouldn't be evil. But this, multi-millionaire prostitutes who are like
broadcasting it,
yeah,
going on marketing campaigns, because that's what these stunts are. They're marketing campaigns,
absolutely,
presumably handled and managed by people behind the scenes as well. And I mentioned this in the office when we were talking about this earlier. The problem with these kinds of stunts and the problem with online pornography being as freely and easily available as it is in the first place is that these stunts only work once.
Yeah, and they have to up the ante every time.
They have to keep getting more and more extreme.
Which is how we've got to this point, in fact.
Yeah, and that's the problem with internet porn as well, just because of the fact that you get desensitized to it and people develop all new disgusting and weird fetishes just because they don't get off on the normal stuff anymore. It's a really horrible feedback loop.
Yeah. So I thought we'd keep going into this, right? Because this is how this began, right? So her and her husband moved to Australia's Gold Coast, and she was like, "I want a break from the 9-to-5 grind." So it's like, she's married to a high school sweetheart. So she'd met this guy when she was in school. They'd fallen in love. They'd got married. Moved to the Gold Coast.
He got a face tattoo.
I don't think that's him. That's not him. No,
because
okay. they broke up. But she was inspired by TikTok videos of women doing cam girl work. It's like inspired. Your wife's like, I'm inspired to become an online prostitute. So I've seen other women doing it. You'd be like, what? No, of course you're not.
Again, that's the business model, though. Get women to promote it to other women as empowerment, as profitable. This will be you taking control of your sexuality. And retarded women will go, yes, me being a whore is empowering.
Yeah. And for some reason, her partner was like, yeah, why not? That sounds like a good idea. Because she felt that, quote, she was not pretty enough, which I agree with, and that people wouldn't want to watch me. But her partner, Ollie, reassured her, no, you're beautiful, do it. It's like, why are you turning your wife into a prostitute, man?
What a simp.
Why are you prostituting your own wife? And soon she was earning $5,000 a week, but her relationship eventually crumbled, if you can believe that. Can you believe that actually damaged their relationship? What a shock. And now she spends her time like literally having sex with 1,000 men in a day. It's like, okay, this is not exactly a good example, is it? Well, am I wrong to feel the spirit of Oliver Cromwell inhabiting me at this point?
The other thing that always springs to mind whenever I hear of these things is, how is she not dead already of VD?
I don't know.
How is she,
I can't explain it.
How?
Maybe it's like the Mr. Burns thing where like they're all stuck in the door. I don't know. I haven't got any answer to this, right? But we'll carry on, because this is just, I just hate everything about this, and it just makes me want to impose some kind of tyrannical, puritanical regime. Right? So we've got this. So totally disgusting. Her and her husband, totally disgusting. Shouldn't have done this, obviously, right? And so she ended her marriage in 2021. Her parents are seemingly unfazed by her risque career path.
So weird.
It's disgusting.
It's weird enough that your own husband's like, go for it, love. But your parents...
In the stocks, all of you. Like, absolutely vile.
This makes me... No, I shouldn't, because I don't want to say anything that could land me in a court of law, because this makes me suspicious of... Anyway.
Bonnie says she takes pride in the support she receives from her family, who are not just proud, but actively involved in her career. I can't even imagine. I got 2 daughters, man.
On what level? In what
I would
How are they involved in any
way?
way?
Are they the ones coming up with the stunts?
She doesn't say, but I mean...
I would assume that her parents, if they're that involved, are either the management or heavily involved with the management.
Yeah, no, they definitely are.
At which point, they would be potentially coming up with the stunts. In which case, don't imagine actually, but somebody saying to their own daughter, why don't you become a sexual petting zoo for 2,000 men over the weekend?
Yeah, her own dad.
I'm sorry, you should be launched into the ocean without a life raft. You should have horrible things done to you.
In the stocks.
You should have your hard drives checked, and you should be investigated.
But the fact that her own parents can do this to her, they're obviously getting paid from this, right? So their own parents are basically like, we'll just pimp her out, right?
100 in one day. Those are rookie numbers, Pop It. Let's do 2,000.
Yeah.
You should hear how much of a whore your mother used to be.
I bet she wasn't. That's the thing, But anyway, like this, I just hate this so much. Bonnie shared the joy her dad felt at her being recognised for a photo and their keenness to participate in her TikTok videos. It's like, this is disgusting. What are you doing? Like, honestly, I would mercilessly put these people in jail. Bonnie said, quote, "My family is so proud of me. My dad loved it when someone came up to me and asked me for a photo the other day. They've even been in my TikToks. Her mother, Sarah, has appeared on her various podcast platforms, including this particular one. On one show, Sarah expressed immense pride in her daughter's professional pursuits and explains how she assists with Bonnie's job." I just...
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. Is there an element of cope to it, though? Like,
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't sound like cope. It sounds disgusting.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Right? And so when Bonnie points out that actually everyone she knew hates her now, right? Because when she was at school, she was quite conservative and quite normal and a bit shy. And so basically everyone thinks she's awful now because she is.
I wouldn't want to be near her.
No, I know. It's disgusting.
Imagine the smell.
Well, I don't want to, thank you. But the point is, what she's doing here is attacking people's relationships. I mean, did you see the TikTok that was going around the other day of this young woman who's like, my boyfriend went to this thing where she shagged 1,000 guys in a day. Like, that's her relationship ruined.
I have seen people share those clips where she's said, what is it? I want brothers, sons, dads, husbands, boyfriends to attend these things. So yeah, she is actively saying, put on a mask so they don't see your face on camera, and, cheat.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely... But the point is, she's actively ruining other women's relationships by just giving in to the most base instincts that men have. And don't get me wrong, all of these men are gross as well, obviously. But there's not really any point in complaining about them because they're not the gatekeepers of whether this happens or not. Right? None of these men can make this happen without her say so. So she's the one who's got to take responsibility for the decision. So, okay, yeah, the men are all gross, but like, who cares? Like, everyone knows. The point being is that she says there's been a lot of judgment and jealousy. Jealousy? I doubt it's so much jealousy. I bet they're like, why are you debasing yourself like this? And I had an old friend come up to me and say, I have no respect for myself and I don't deserve any in return. And another close friend tell me how her friends think she shouldn't be friends with me anymore. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. You're going out of your way to destroy other people's relationships. Why would you want a relationship with that person? Right?
Well, in the friendships as well, there's the worry from lots of people that you'd try and encourage your friends to do the same thing that you are.
It's an example to others. And she says, though, I don't mind. They are judging me for having a multi-million-dollar business while they live with their parents and have to work for someone else. So pure materialism. Right? She is just a sack of flesh. There's nothing sacred. There's nothing special about her. There's nothing important. And my God, this is what I was talking about in The Death of Man. Right?
I'm sorry. I'd rather be living with my parents than have them manage an OnlyFans account for me.
Yes.
That's a pretty simple solution for me.
I'm not sure if Galileo and Kant had Bonnie Blue in mind when they...
No, they didn't. But this is where it ends up. That's the problem with all of this, is that once you have desacralized the material world, even man himself becomes just a sack of meat. And if you see nothing important, nothing dignified about yourself, nothing that is in some way morally important, which Bonnie Blue doesn't, about herself and her own sexuality, then you get to the point where, like, why don't I just put myself in a cage and let 2,000 guys do whatever they want to me? And it's just like, yeah, that's where we end up, because there's nothing restraining that. All of the things that we're complaining about, all the moral complaints, are non-material complaints, right? They're complaints about dignity and sanctity that we're invoking here, about how women should uphold their own sense of self. But it's not material. I mean, she's not being hurt by doing this. She's just absolutely...
I mean, it's where one particular psycho ended up, sure, but...
Yeah, but it's not. But it's not just one particular psycho. This is just the particular example of a psycho.
I don't think it's particularly hard baked into Kepler's geometry that we end up with Bonnie Blue.
Well, I'm afraid I think it is, actually, and that's the problem. The issue is that once the universe is desacralized, even man himself as a part of the universe becomes desacralized. And okay, at the moment, we're like, 5 years into OnlyFans or whatever it is, and we've already got like rampant giga whores, and this is just one example of many. Apparently there are 280,000 of them, right? But
one thing that was funny was that other OnlyFans whores were calling her out on this.
Oh yeah,
saying that this is gross and disgusting. You're making us all look bad. Listen, you know, I was just a normal OnlyFans whore, but this is freak behaviour right here.
But this is the precise point that I've been making in The Death of Man. And the thing is, it goes further than this as well. Because then you get the elites being like, yeah, no, good point. We're in Bonnie Blue's Britain. Right?
This is The Economist.
It is The Economist, yeah. And so it's, you know, the influential like outlets will say things like, yeah, Bonnie Blue's Britain is a place of sin, spin, and soft power. It's like, are you mental?
Soft power being international influence, so and optics internationally. So what they're saying is, along with the fact that her and Lily Phillips and all of these ones are always all over Twitter timelines because people are constantly sharing this stuff as rage bait. They get articles in the Daily Mail, they get articles in the local
newspapers. They get interviewed everywhere.
Now they're in The Economist, now they're being spoken about in The Spectator as well. Again, internationally, when you talk about the fighting age hordes of men that are coming over to this country and how they treat our women, this is what they're thinking, especially when you have platforms like The Spectator spreading this number, saying it's 280,000, 4% of young women. The international view of British girls is going to be that they're all disgusting whores who are well up for it, lads.
And this is precisely what The Economist is saying, right? They're literally saying Britain is just a whoremongering place, right? They say, quote, Bonnie Blue's strengths are Britain's strengths. We are just an island of prostitutes that are prostituting ourselves out to the entire world. We are exactly like these girls. These girls are a perfect reflection of us. And honestly, are they wrong? That's the question.
This stuff serves as an extended advertisement as well. So similarly, obscenity laws, I'd smack them down with it as well, because you're basically you're advertising it. I just want this whole thing shut down. People need to be punished, billions.
I agree. I totally agree. Like, people are like, why have you turned into Oliver Cromwell? What are you doing this for? It's for the safety of my daughters, so this never happens to them. Right? And even if they think they want it, I don't agree that they want it, and I don't care. I'm not going to let it happen. That's how I would be approaching this, right? But they point out that obviously smut, scuzz, and sin are fixtures of the British economy. Tobacco companies, gambling companies, booze companies.
Oh yeah. Having a cheeky cigarette for 5 minutes during work is basically the same as letting yourself be bound and gagged in a cage for over a weekend for 2,000 men.
It's the same leftist narrative they've always peddled, as much degeneracy as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, there are still women in Britain that aren't this, though.
There are plenty of them.
Of course there are.
Right.
But the point...
So they're wrong. It's not true.
Well, I don't know, right? As in, if we permit this, can we say that this is not an accurate reflection of ourselves? You know, I think the society is defined by its excesses, actually. And so if we allow this, I mean, like, you can complain about the Iranian mullahs all you like, but they don't allow this.
The individuals aren't defined by it, are they? Like, there'll be trad British women out there that are just as disgusted by it as you.
Sure, but why do they tolerate it? You get what you tolerate, and you get more of what you tolerate. And if you tolerate this, then you're going to get more of it. And if you normalize it and make it something that gets headlines and gets attention, you're going to just incentivize people to do it. And so, no, I think actually this is a fairly accurate representation of Britain, and this is why I'm probably going to get what was the haircut they used to have? I'm going to get that haircut. I just genuinely arrived at the point where I'm just like, right, this has to be done. Something has to be done. I mean,
Cromwellian haircut.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a Cromwellian haircut, wasn't there?
What, the sort of a bowl cut Puritan.
Yeah, I'm getting that. But the point is, OnlyFans is worth $7 billion now, and the OnlyFans owner is looking to sell it for $8 billion. And it's like, okay, but is this the country we want to be? Is this what being a liberal country means? So just being an international prostitute, according to The Economist. In 2025, they tell us at the very last line, if someone lies back and thinks of England, they may as well think of Miss Blue. Yeah, okay, now I'm totally on with Cromwell.
I'm so glad that some random Ukrainian American businessman could buy up this company and then make billions of profit off of whoring out other people's daughters.
I just can't stand it, man. And like I said, I'm not even trying to be an extreme Puritan about it. I understand that, oldest professional, that sort of thing.
It's gross. I agree with you. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
No. I can accept the legitimate, but this is what it's doing to us. So there has to be some sort of place in which we intercede. Just a quick thing: the numbers are, for some reason, the thing isn't working. The numbers are a bit suspect. Apparently, they come from a Google spreadsheet that is probably not reliable. I mean, it doesn't doesn't look very reliable to me.
Yeah, I gave you these links. So the source that it's attributed to is some Google spreadsheet, and if you track the sources that the Google spreadsheet uses, it seems to refer back to a website which looks like some virus scam website that says free OnlyFans with the little flame symbol next to it, which even on the website only lists 25,000 users, which itself might not be accurate because it seems that at 25,000 that's the cap of how many it lists. So the number is completely nebulous and vague, and we don't know really where it's come from or how they've come to that. And some of these people, including Juice, who's an excellent poster on Twitter, have referenced a number of times before, are speculating that the likelihood is these numbers are being given out by OnlyFans themselves because, as I mentioned, their incentive is to inflate the numbers to make it seem more normal, to encourage more people onto the platform.
Anyway, so probably overblown.
It's still going to be way too many.
Yeah, it's going to be too many, but it's probably overblown. But anyway, Bonnie Blue got banned from OnlyFans for saying that she was going to do this 2,000 men box cage stunt.
She was too degenerate.
Yeah, imagine being too degenerate for OnlyFans. Again, this is like a spokesman told Metro, quote, extreme challenge content is not available on OnlyFans and is not permitted under our acceptable use policy. Any breach of the term of service gets your account deactivated. So they actually were like, no, this is there are still some limits to morality, even on OnlyFans, right? And it's like...
And even before the Enlightenment, you've got people like Messalina, Claudius's wife, famously had a...
Yeah, same as Justinian's.
Theodora.
Yeah.
Messalina had a competition with Rome's most famous prostitute to sleep with as many men as possible. Yeah. So I think there will always be... Again, I don't know why I'm playing defence. I don't mean to be. I'm just saying there will always be sort of the very extreme...
Yeah.
Kind of insane, in my opinion, degenerates.
To be fair to what the example you're giving, elites historically have always been a bit disgusting with this stuff.
On the cliche of the last days of Rome.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is the last days of Britain. I mean, like there was a woman in Turkey who was planning to do the same. She was just arrested, publicly saying, and we could do the same, right? We actually could do the same because we actually have a series of laws on the statutes that are to protect the public morality against indecency. We actually could enforce this, right? So you've got the Obscene Publications Act of 1959 and 1964, which is to prevent the distribution of material deemed obscene that tends to deprave and corrupt. Yeah, I think you can argue that OnlyFans whores is an example of attempting to deprave and corrupt the public morality. It's something you have to post online, so you could use the 2003 Communications Act, or you've got the Indecent Displays Control Act of 1981, which restricts the public display of indecent material likely to offend the public decency. We have all of this on the books. We could ban this. We could charge these women.
It's a CPS failing to bring prosecution.
The Public Order Act.
I can't believe that Keir Starmer didn't step in.
Again, he's got a daughter, you know. The Public Order Act protects public order and prohibits conduct or speech likely to cause harassment, alarm, or distress. I think distress is a fairly acceptable thing to categorise this as. Like, I'm not on with this. There are laws on the books that we could use to ban OnlyFans and this behaviour. We should be using them.
I think it's just gross.
It is just gross, and for that reason, we should ban it.
We should take a Singapore approach to things that are gross.
Yes.
Sorry, you spat some gum in the street, arrested.
I'm just.
You're gonna blow your nose in the middle of the street, arrested.
Again, weirdly, like, there's something about like the old way that prostitution was done that seems way more wholesome than this. You know what I mean?
They were certainly classier than these.
This is just disgusting. There are just limits that you just... Anyway, if the mechanical world is just that, mechanical, how does it become transcendent? Galileo, Boyle, Newton, and many others saw themselves as recovering this lost wisdom. Technology had sufficiently progressed to reveal that mankind and the Earth he inhabited was not actually the centre of the universe. It threatened to upend their entire body of cosmological knowledge. The process of distinguishing science from superstition had begun, and the great minds of the era dedicated themselves to this work.